The planet Nexus Prime looked like a dying jewel in the dark of space. Its surface was covered with huge crystal formations that once glowed with bright light. Now they barely flickered like old candles in the wind. Deep beneath the largest crystal mountain, something ancient was slowly fading away. Beko had been alive for over 10,000 years. He was the last of the Draconari, the great crystal dragons who kept the stars in their proper places. His body was as large as a space station, covered in scales that looked like living diamonds. Each scale contained more power than most planets could produce in a century. But now his heart was dying. The heart of a Draconari was not like the heart of other creatures. It was a massive crystal core that pulsed with cosmic energy. This energy flowed out through space to hold 3 entire solar systems in perfect balance. Without it, planets would spin out of control. Moons would crash into their worlds. Billions of people would die. Beko felt another crack appear in his heart crystal. The pain shot through his entire body. He lifted his great head and looked at the small figure sitting near his front claw. "The readings are getting worse," said Yunsik in his quiet voice. The human was small compared to the dragon, no bigger than one of Beko's teeth. He wore a simple white coat over his clothes and carried a device that measured energy levels Yunsik had been on. Nexus Prime for 6 months. His research ship had crashed during a storm, and he had been stuck here ever since. Most beings would have run away when they saw Draconari. These ancient dragons were known across the galaxy as creatures of immense power. Some people worshipped them. Others feared them. But Yunsik had simply walked up to Beko and asked if he could help. "How much time do you think I have left, little human?" Beko asked. His voice was deep and rumbling, like distant thunder. Yunsik looked at his device again. The numbers were not good. At this rate, maybe 2 weeks. 3. If you rest more, rest. Beko made a sound that might have been laughter. "I have been resting for the last 1,000 years. It has not helped." The human did not give up easily. For months, he had been studying the dragon's condition. He took measurements every day. He asked questions that no one had ever asked before. He wanted to understand how the biocrystalline matrix worked, how it kept the dragon alive, and why it was failing now. "There has to be something we can do," Yunsik said. He had said this same thing every day for weeks. "We." Beko was curious about this word. Most creatures thought only about themselves when facing death. But this human always said "we," as if the dragon's problem was his problem too. "Yes, we. I'm not giving up on you." Beko had lived long enough to see entire civilizations rise and fall. He had watched stars be born and die. He had seen countless species make the same mistakes over and over again. But he had never met anyone quite like this small human, who refused to accept that some things could not be fixed. A soft sound came from deeper in the cave. Both the dragon and the human turned to look. A small creature, no bigger than a house cat, came walking toward them on 4 legs. She looked like a tiny version of Beko, with the same crystal scales, but hers were pale and dim. "Loheiwan," Yunsik said gently. The little dragon made a happy chirping sound and rushed over to him. She climbed up onto his lap and curled up like a pet. Her scales became a little brighter when she was close to the human. "She likes you," Beko observed. "That is unusual. Young Draconari normally avoid other species." Heiwan was the last hatchling of the Draconari race. She had been born just 50 years ago, which made her barely a baby by dragon standards. She had power, but not nearly enough to maintain even one world's stability. When Beko died, she would be alone, and billions of beings would die because she was too young and weak to take his place. This was the problem that kept Yunsik awake at night. He had grown attached to both dragons during his time here. Beko was wise and patient, willing to answer endless questions about cosmic energy and stellar mechanics. Heiwan was playful and curious, following him around the cave like a loyal pet. The idea of losing them both, and knowing that entire worlds would suffer as a result, was something he could not accept. "The Galactic Council has sent messages," Beko said quietly. "They want me to transfer my remaining power to their machines before I die." Yoon-sik looked up sharply. What kind of machines? Artificial stabilizers. They believe they can replace what I do with technology. Can they? Biko was quiet for a long moment. Perhaps, for a while, but machines break down. They need constant maintenance, and they do not have wisdom or judgment. If something unexpected happens, they will follow their programming, even if it means destroying worlds to save others. Yoon-sik petted Haewon's small head. The little dragon purred like a cat. There has to be another way. Keep saying that, little human. But some things cannot be changed, no matter how much we wish they could be. I don't accept that. Yoon-sik's voice was firm. Back on Earth, people told my great-grandmother she would never walk again after her accident. She not only walked, she ran marathons. They told my grandfather his heart was too weak for surgery. He lived 30 more years. They told me humans could never survive in deep space for more than 2 years. I've been out here for 5. Biko studied the small human. There was something different about this species, something he had not encountered in all his long years. Most beings accepted the natural order of things. When faced with impossible odds, they found ways to adapt, or they gave up. But humans seemed to have a strange refusal to accept that anything was truly impossible. Your species is very young, Biko said. You have only been traveling between stars for a few hundred years. Perhaps you have not yet learned that the universe has rules that cannot be broken. Or maybe we haven't learned to stop trying to break them yet, as if to prove his point. Yoon-sik stood up and walked over to his equipment. Haewon jumped down and followed him. For the past week, he had been working on something new, a combination of human technology and Drakenari crystal samples that Biko had given him. What are you building? The ancient dragon asked. I'm not sure yet, Yoon-sik admitted, but I found something interesting in your biocrystalline matrix. The energy patterns look similar to human neural networks, just much more complex. I think there might be a way to create a bridge between organic consciousness and crystal. Energy B. Ko felt something he had not experienced in centuries. Hope. It was a dangerous feeling for someone who had lived as long as he had. Hope led to disappointment, and disappointment led to despair. But as he watched the small human work tirelessly on an impossible problem, refusing to give up even when faced with the death of worlds, Biko found himself believing that maybe, just maybe, this strange species might find a way to change everything. The crystal scales along his heart flickered a little brighter than they had in months. Outside the cave, 3 solar systems continued their ancient dance around their stars, held in perfect balance by the failing strength of one dying dragon and the stubborn determination of one human who refused to let go. 3 days passed since Yoon-sik first mentioned his crazy idea about bridging consciousness and crystal energy. Biko had been thinking about it constantly. The ancient dragon had seen many species try to understand Drakenari technology over the millennia. All of them had failed. The power was too great, too alien for other minds to comprehend. But something about the humans' approach was different. Show me what you have discovered, Biko said as Yoon-sik worked at his makeshift laboratory near the dragon's massive head. Yoon-sik held up a small device that hummed with soft energy. Inside, it was a tiny fragment of crystal from Biko's scales, mixed with human neural tissue that he had grown in a culture dish. This should not work, Yoon-sik said, excitement clear in his voice. According to every scientific law I know, organic neural networks and crystalline energy matrices are completely incompatible. But look at this. He activated the device. The crystal fragment began to glow. The neural tissue responded by creating new pathways that mimicked the crystal's energy patterns. For just a moment, they worked together like one system. Possible, Biko breathed. No species had ever achieved anything like this. That's what I thought too. But humans have something unusual in our brain structure. We have quantum coherence in our neural patterns that most other species lack. It might be because we evolved on a planet with a specific type of magnetic field. Or maybe it's just a random mutation. Either way, it means our consciousness might be able to interface with your crystal matrices in ways that others cannot. Haewon had been watching from her favorite spot on a nearby crystal formation. She jumped down and walked over to the device, sniffing it curiously. When she got close, something unexpected happened. The device's glow became much brighter, and the neural tissue began forming new connections at an incredible rate. "Did you see that?" Yoon-sik asked, staring at his readings. "She's amplifying the effect just by being near it." Biko felt a chill run through his massive body. Young Draconari have more flexible crystal matrices than adults. Her mind is still developing, still learning how to channel cosmic energy. If what you suggest is possible, she would be the ideal candidate for such an experiment that could kill us both, Yoon-sik added quietly. "Yes, most certainly." They stood in silence for a moment, watching as Haewon continued to investigate the device. Her small crystal scales were glowing brighter than they had since she was first hatched. She looked happier and more energetic than she had in weeks. "The Galactic Council is sending a ship," Beko said eventually. "They will arrive in 5 days." Yoon-sik looked up from his work. "What will you tell them?" "What I have always told them, that I will do my duty and transfer my power to their machines before I die. And if I can prove this works first." Biko considered this. The human had been working day and night for months, refusing to accept that the situation was hopeless. Most beings would have given up by now, or found ways to save themselves. But Yoon-sik seemed genuinely determined to find a solution that would save everyone. "If you can prove it works, I will consider your proposal. But understand, little human, that failure would mean not just our deaths, but the collapse of 3 solar systems. Billions of beings would perish." "I understand." Yoon-sik's voice was steady. "But doing nothing guarantees the same result when your heart finally fails." This was true. Biko had perhaps 10 days left, maybe less. The artificial stabilizers the Galactic Council wanted to use had only a 60% chance of working. And even if they succeeded, they would only delay the inevitable. Machines could not adapt to unexpected problems the way living consciousness could. "What would you need to attempt this bonding?" Biko asked. Yoon-sik had clearly been thinking about this for some time. "Direct neural interface equipment, biocrystalline growth medium, and a way to gradually synchronize our consciousness patterns without overwhelming either of our minds." "I can provide the crystalline components," Biko said. "But the neural interface technology would need to come from your people. My emergency beacon has been broadcasting for months. If any human ships are in range, they would have heard it by now." As if summoned by their conversation, a soft chime sounded from Yoon-sik's communication equipment. He rushed over to it, hope clear on his face. After months of silence, someone was finally answering his distress signal. "This is Research Vessel Eternal Curiosity responding to Beacon 779. Dr. Yoon-sik. Are you receiving this transmission?" Yoon-sik nearly shouted with joy. "This is Dr. Yoon-sik. I am receiving you clearly." "What is your position?" "We are 2 days out from Nexus Prime. We have medical supplies and equipment for emergency extraction." "Are you injured?" "No, but I need you to bring every piece of neural interface equipment you have, and contact Earth immediately. Tell them we need volunteers for the most important experiment in human history." There was a long pause on the other end. "Dr. Yoon-sik, please clarify your situation. Are you being held against your will?" Biko made a rumbling sound that might have been laughter. "They think I am keeping you prisoner." Suk smiled. "Captain, I am not a prisoner. I am working with the last Draconari to prevent a cosmic catastrophe. I need volunteers who are willing to risk everything to save 3 solar systems." Another pause. "Stand by, Dr. Yoon-sik. We are contacting Earth Command now." Over the next few hours, Yoon-sik explained the situation to the rescue ship and to officials on Earth. The response was exactly what he had hoped for, and exactly what Biko had expected. Within hours, volunteer requests were pouring in from across human space. Scientists, engineers, soldiers, doctors, and ordinary citizens all willing to travel to Nexus Prime to attempt an impossible bonding with alien crystal technology. "Your species is insane," Biko observed as he listened to the communications. "Thank you," Yoon-sik replied, taking it as a compliment. "Chancellor Kung-mi, representing humanity on the Galactic Council." sent a priority message expressing her concerns. The Council was already nervous about human expansion into deep space. The idea of humans attempting to merge with Draconari technology would terrify them. "They will try to stop us," Biko warned. "Let them try. We have 4 days before they arrive and 2 days before the first human volunteers get here. That should be enough time to prove the concept works." Hei-1 had been listening to all of this with growing excitement. She approached Yoon-sik and made the soft chirping sound she used when she wanted attention. When he knelt down to pet her, she pressed her small head against his hand. Her scales flared with bright light, and for a moment, Yoon-sik felt something incredible. It was like looking at the universe through completely different eyes. He could sense the cosmic forces that Biko controlled, the delicate balance that kept planets in their orbits, the vast web of energy that connected all living things. The sensation lasted only a few seconds, but it was enough to prove that the connection was possible. "She is trying to bond with you already," Beko said, wonder in his ancient voice. "Without any technology at all." Yoon-sik stared at his hands. They were tingling with residual energy, and he could swear he saw tiny crystal formations growing along his fingertips before they faded away. "It works," he whispered. "It actually works." "The first step works," Biko corrected. "Creating a full bond that can handle cosmic-level energies will be far more dangerous. Are you certain you want to attempt this?" Yoon-sik looked at Hei-1, who was still glowing softly from their brief contact. Then he looked at Biko, whose heart crystal flickered weakly in his massive chest. Finally, he thought about the billions of people living peacefully in 3 solar systems, unaware that their entire existence depended on one dying dragon. "I'm certain. Humans don't give up when people need saving. Even if the people live on worlds we've never seen and belong to species we've never met." Biko felt that dangerous emotion called hope growing stronger in his ancient heart. Perhaps this small, stubborn species really could find a way to change the natural order of things. Perhaps there really was another path besides sacrifice and loss. "Then we begin tomorrow," the dragon decided. "When your people arrive, we will attempt something that has never been done before." Outside the cave, space itself seemed to hold its breath as 3 solar systems continued their dance. Unaware that their fate now rested on an impossible bond between the oldest consciousness in the galaxy and the youngest species to reach the stars. The human rescue ship Eternal Curiosity landed on Nexus Prime, just as the planet's dim sun was setting. Captain Ginwoo was the first to step out, followed by Dr. So-young and a team of specialists, carrying equipment that Yoon-sik had requested. They had made the journey in record time, pushing their engines beyond safe limits. "Dr. Yoon-sik," Captain Jinwoo called out as they approached the crystal cave. "Are you really planning to merge your brain with an alien dragon?" "That's exactly what I'm planning," Yoon-sik replied, shaking hands with his rescuers. "And I need your help to do it safely." Dr. So-young, a specialist in quantum neural interfaces, stared up at Biko's massive form. The ancient dragon's eyes were each larger than her entire body. "This is the most insane thing I have ever heard of," she said. "I love it. When do we start?" Within hours, they had set up a makeshift laboratory inside the cave. The equipment included neural monitoring devices, biocrystalline growth chambers, and emergency medical systems in case something went wrong. Hei-1 watched everything with intense curiosity, occasionally touching pieces of equipment with her nose and making them glow brighter. "She is already responding to your technology," Beko observed. Young Draconari are naturally curious about new energy patterns.
"That's perfect,"
Dr. So-young said, checking her readings. Her natural interest should make the bonding process easier. "Dr. Yoon-sik, are you ready to begin the preliminary neural mapping?" Yoon-sik nodded and sat down in the interface chair. Dr. So-young attached several sensors to his head. While Hei-1 climbed up onto his lap, the little dragon seemed to understand that something important was happening. "Beginning neural scan," Dr. So-young announced. "Yoon-sik, I want you to focus on Hei-1 while I map your brain patterns." As Yoon-sik looked into the small dragon's bright eyes, something amazing happened. His neural activity spiked in areas that had never shown such patterns before. New pathways began forming in real time, creating connections that should not have been possible. "Impossible," Dr. So-young whispered, staring at her screens. His brain is literally rewiring itself just from being close to her. The quantum coherence effect, Yunsik explained, feeling a strange tingling sensation in his head. Human consciousness can adapt to match crystalline energy patterns. We just never had a reason to try it before. Heiwan made a soft humming sound and pressed her small head against Yunsik's chest. Her scales began to glow, and suddenly Yunsik could feel what she was feeling. The cave around them seemed alive with flowing energy. He could sense Biko's massive presence like a warm mountain of light, and beyond that, the cosmic forces that held distant worlds in their proper places. The connection is establishing itself, Biko said, wonder in his ancient voice. I can feel both of your minds beginning to synchronize. Dr. Soyoung was frantically taking readings. His neural activity is off the charts, but it's stable. Somehow, his brain is handling energy levels that should have killed him instantly. "'Cause I am not trying to control the energy," Yunsik said. His voice slightly different now, carrying harmonics that had not been there before. "I am sharing it with Heiwan. She channels the power, and I provide the guidance and flexibility." This was the key insight that no other species had ever discovered. Previous attempts to bond with Draconari technology had focused on control and domination. But humans approached it as a partnership, a cooperation between two different types of consciousness. "We need to test this, Captain," Jinwoo said. "Can you actually use this connection to stabilize anything?" Biko lifted his great head and looked toward the cave entrance. There is a small moon orbiting the fourth planet in the Kepler system. It has been slowly drifting out of its proper orbit for the past week. I have been using my power to nudge it back into place, but the effort grows more difficult each day. "How far away is that?" Yunsik asked. "Approximately 15 light-years." Dr. Soyoung nearly dropped her equipment. "You want him to influence something 15 light-years away? That's impossible." "Everything we are doing today is impossible," Yunsik reminded her. He closed his eyes and felt Heiwan's consciousness merge more fully with his own. "Let's see what we can do together." The sensation was unlike anything Yunsik had ever experienced. Through Heiwan's crystal matrix, he could perceive space and time as malleable things. Distance became meaningless. He could feel the troubled moon wobbling in its orbit around a distant planet. More importantly, he could sense the millions of people living on that planet who would die if the moon crashed into them. "I can see it," he whispered. "I can actually see the moon." Working together, Yunsik provided the intention, and Heiwan provided the power. Instead of forcing the moon back into position, they gently encouraged it, like nudging a ball back onto the right path. The effort was enormous, and Yunsik felt his consciousness stretching across impossible distances. But somehow he managed it. "Gravitational readings from Kepler 442 are stabilizing," Dr. Soyoung announced, staring at her long-range sensors in disbelief. "The moon is back in proper orbit." Yunsik opened his eyes, feeling exhausted but exhilarated. Heiwan was purring like a contented cat, her scales glowing brighter than they had since she was hatched. "We did it," he said simply. "Did more than that," Biko rumbled. "You accomplished in minutes what takes me hours of concentrated effort, and you did it while barely understanding how Draconari power works." Captain Jinwoo was already on his communication device, reporting the success back to Earth. Within an hour, volunteer applications from across human space had increased tenfold. Scientists, engineers, explorers, and ordinary citizens all wanted to be part of this incredible discovery. Dr. Yunsik came a message from Earth Command. "We are dispatching 3 more ships with volunteers and equipment. Admiral Taehyun himself is leading the mission. Estimated arrival time is 18 hours. 18 hours, Dr. Soyoung calculated. That will put them here just 6 hours before the Galactic Council arrives." Go's expression grew serious. "The Council will not approve of what you are doing. They will see it as dangerous experimentation that threatens galactic stability." "Let them," Yunsik said, still feeling the afterglow of his connection with Heiwan. "By the time they get here, we will have proven that this works. We will have saved lives and demonstrated that there is another way." But even as he spoke, warning signals began coming in from across the galaxy. The energy pulse from their successful stabilization of the Kepler moon had been detected by monitoring stations everywhere. Questions were being asked. Fears were being raised. Some species viewed any change to the cosmic order as a threat to their own security. They are afraid, Biko explained. For millions of years, the galaxy has operated according to certain principles. The strong survive, the weak perish, and the cosmic forces remain in the hands of ancient beings like myself. What you are proposing changes everything, Yunsik replied with typical human stubbornness. Maybe it's time for things to change. Over the next several hours, more volunteers arrived from human space. Minho, a former engineer who had always dreamed of working with alien technology. Yonji, a meditation instructor who believed that consciousness was more flexible than most people realized. Taehyun, a military officer who saw the strategic importance of humans being able to help maintain galactic stability. Each volunteer underwent the same preliminary testing that Yunsik had experienced. Not all of them were compatible with the bonding process, but those who were showed the same remarkable results. Their brains adapted to crystalline energy patterns. Their consciousness expanded beyond normal human limits, and they formed connections with crystal fragments that should have been impossible. We are creating something new, Biko realized as he watched the humans work. Not just individual bonds, but a network of consciousness that spans multiple beings. A network that could handle the cosmic responsibilities that you have carried alone for so long, Yunsik added, as the first day of testing came to an end. 5 humans had successfully bonded with Draconari crystal technology. Working together, they had stabilized 3 different stellar phenomena, prevented 2 potential asteroid impacts, and demonstrated that distributed consciousness could accomplish what individual power never could. HAE-1. Exhausted but happy, curled up next to Yunsik as he rested between tests. Her scales were brighter than they had ever been, and she seemed to have grown slightly larger during the bonding process. She is maturing faster than normal, Biko observed. The connections with human consciousness are accelerating her development. Is that dangerous? Dr. So-young asked. I do not think so. If anything, she seems healthier and stronger than before. As night fell on Nexus Prime, the small group of humans and dragons prepared for the challenges that tomorrow would bring. The Galactic Council would arrive soon, and they would not be happy about what they found. But for the first time in months, Yunsik felt genuinely hopeful about the future. They had proven that the impossible was possible. Now they just had to convince the rest of the galaxy to let them save it. The second wave of human ships arrived at dawn, led by Admiral Taehyun, aboard the heavy cruiser Steadfast. As the ships landed around the Crystal Cave, Yunsik counted 12 vessels carrying over 300 volunteers. Word of the successful bonding had spread through human space like wildfire. Dr. Yunsik, Admiral Taehyun said as he strode into the cave, his uniform crisp despite the long journey. Earth Command has authorized me to provide full support for this operation. What do you need? More neural interface equipment, medical supplies, and volunteers who understand they might not survive the process, Yunsik replied honestly. Everyone who came here knows the risks. They came anyway. The Admiral looked up at Biko with obvious awe. So you are the Guardian who has kept 3 solar systems stable for thousands of years. I am, Biko rumbled, and I am dying. Your people offer the only hope of preventing a cosmic catastrophe. Admiral Taehyun nodded grimly. Then we had better get to work. Over the next few hours, the cave was transformed into a bustling command center. Human engineers worked alongside Dr. So-young to set up multiple bonding stations. Each station could monitor and support one human attempting to merge with Draconari. Crystal Technology, the first new volunteer, was Minho, a former spacecraft engineer who had spent years working with exotic energy systems. As he sat in the interface chair with a crystal fragment in his hands, his eyes closed in concentration. I can feel it, he said softly, like touching the edge of something vast and beautiful. The bonding process had become more refined since Yunsic's first attempt. Dr. So-young had learned to guide the neural adaptation more smoothly, reducing the shock to the human brain, but it was still dangerous. 2 volunteers had already failed to achieve bonding, suffering severe headaches and neural fatigue. Minho was different. His engineering background helped him understand the energy flows he was experiencing. Within an hour, his neural patterns had synchronized with the crystal matrix, and he was successfully channeling cosmic forces. Test him on the asteroid field near Vega, Beko suggested. There are several rocks drifting toward the shipping lanes, working with his bonded crystal. Minho reached out across space and gently nudged 3 large asteroids away from their collision course. The effort left him tired, but exhilarated. "It is like being able to touch the universe itself," he reported. "I can feel the gravitational currents, the way energy flows between stars." The next successful volunteer was Yoonji, the meditation instructor. Her approach was completely different from Minho's technical understanding. She treated the crystal consciousness like a meditation partner, finding harmony rather than trying to control anything. "The crystal wants to help," she explained after her bonding was complete. "It is not a tool to be used, but a partner to work with." Her insight proved crucial for other volunteers. Those who approached the bonding as a partnership rather than a master-servant relationship had much higher success rates. By midday, 12 humans had successfully bonded with Draconari crystal fragments, but success brought new challenges. "Dr. Yoon-sik," Dr. So-young called out urgently, "I am detecting massive energy signatures approaching the system. Multiple ships, definitely Galactic Council." Admiral Tae-hyan checked his own sensors. 37 vessels, led by a Council dreadnought. "They will be here in 4 hours." Biko lifted his great head, sensing the approaching fleet. Chancellor Kyung-mi is aboard the lead ship. She is broadcasting demands that all human vessels withdraw immediately. "What about the other council members?" Yoon-sik asked. "The Zephyrian military commander Veltar is present, along with representatives from 6 other species. They are not coming to negotiate. They intend to stop what we are doing by force if necessary." Admiral Taehan frowned. "They would really attack human civilians engaged in rescue operations." "They view this as a threat to galactic stability," Beko explained. "For millions of years, cosmic forces have been controlled by beings like myself. The idea that young species like humanity could take on such responsibilities terrifies them." "Then we need to prove we can handle those responsibilities," Yoon-sik said. "How many more volunteers can we process before they arrive?" "At the current rate, maybe 20 more?" Dr. So-young calculated. "Do it. And send a message to Earth. Tell them we need every volunteer they can spare." As the afternoon progressed, the bonding operations continued at a frantic pace. The humans who had already bonded began working together, discovering that their combined consciousness could accomplish far more than individual efforts. When Yoon-sik, Minho, and Yoonji linked their bonded crystals, they were able to stabilize an entire star system that had been experiencing solar flare activity. "We are creating something unprecedented," Biko observed. "A distributed network of consciousness that can share the burden of cosmic maintenance. A network that does not require ancient beings to sacrifice themselves maintaining the universe," Yoon-sik added, feeling the warm presence of his bonded partners in his mind. But even as their success grew, the approaching council fleet cast a shadow over their work. Long-range communications revealed heated debates among the various species. Some, like the peaceful Altrurians, supported the human initiative. Others, particularly the militaristic Zephyrians, viewed it as an unacceptable disruption of the natural order. Incoming message from the council fleet, Admiral Taehan announced. "Chancellor Kyung-mi wants to speak with Dr. Yoon-sik directly." The holographic image of Chancellor Kyung-mi appeared in the cave. She was a stern-faced woman in her 60s, wearing the formal robes of her office. Behind her, Yoon-sik could see Zephyrian military officers and other alien representatives. "Dr. Yoon-sik," she said without preamble, "you are to cease all bonding operations immediately and surrender for debriefing. The Galactic Council has declared your experiments a threat to cosmic stability. With respect, Chancellor, we have already demonstrated that our approach works. We have prevented 3 potential disasters in the past day alone, using untested technology that could have catastrophic consequences if it fails. You are playing with forces beyond human comprehension." "We are saving lives," Yoon-sik replied firmly. "And we are not alone in this. Biko has been guiding us every step of the way." The ancient dragon moved into view of the communication device. Chancellor Kun-mi, I have lived for 10,000 years and maintained cosmic stability across 3 solar systems. I tell you now that these humans have discovered something remarkable. They have found a way to share the burden that has consumed my entire existence. With respect, Guardian Biko, the Council cannot allow such experimentation to continue. The risks are too great. Commander Veltar stepped forward, his metallic Zephyrian features hard with determination. Dr. Yunsik, you have 1 hour to evacuate all human personnel and surrender the Draconari to proper Council custody. Failure to comply will result in the use of force. You would threaten civilians engaged in humanitarian work, Admiral Tehayan interjected. We will protect galactic stability by any means necessary, Veltar replied coldly. After the communication ended, the urgent planning session began in the cave. The bonded humans could feel each other's thoughts and emotions through their crystal connections. Fear, determination, and stubborn human refusal to give up mixed together in a complex web of shared consciousness. We cannot fight a council fleet, Admiral Tehayan said practically. 37 ships against our 12, and they have much heavier weapons. We do not need to fight them, Yunsik realized. We need to show them what we can do. What do you mean? Dr. Soyoung asked. The Council thinks we are dangerous because they do not understand what we have accomplished. They think we are experimenting with forces we cannot control. But what if we demonstrate that we can maintain cosmic stability better than their artificial systems? Biko's eyes glowed with understanding. You want to take over my responsibilities completely? Transfer all my remaining power to your network and prove that humans can maintain 3 solar systems without me. Exactly. If we can do that, they will have to admit that our approach works. And if you fail, billions die, Yunji pointed out through the mental link they all shared. If we do nothing, billions die anyway when Biko's heart finally fails, Minho countered. The Council fleet will be here in 3 hours, Admiral Tehayan said. Can you establish a complete network connection in that time? Dr. Soyoung was already running calculations. If we process volunteers continuously and link all the bonded humans together, maybe, but it will be the most dangerous thing any of us have ever attempted. Yunsik looked around at the faces of his fellow humans, then at Haewon, who had been following the conversation with intelligent eyes. Finally, he looked at Beko, whose ancient heart crystal flickered weakly in his massive chest. We came here to save lives, he said simply. That has not changed. Everyone who wants to leave should do so now. Everyone who stays needs to understand that we might all die in the next few hours. Not a single human moved toward the exit. Then let's save the galaxy, Admiral Tehayan said with a grim smile. The Galactic Council fleet dropped out of hyperspace with a flash of brilliant light. 37 warships arranged themselves in a blockade formation around Nexus Prime, their weapons powered but not yet aimed. The largest vessel, a massive dreadnought called Cosmic Order, positioned itself directly above the Crystal Cave. All human vessels. This is Commander Veltar of the Zephyrian Defense Force. You are in violation of galactic safety protocols. Surrender immediately or face the consequences. Admiral Tehayan stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the overwhelming enemy force. His 12 ships were outnumbered 3-1, and the enemy had much heavier weapons. But he had received clear orders from Earth Command and from Dr. Yunsik below. Commander Veltar, this is Admiral Tehayan. We are engaged in humanitarian rescue operations under the protection of the Draconari Guardian. We will not surrender. In the crystal cave below, frantic activity continued as more humans attempted the bonding process. 28 volunteers had now successfully merged with Draconari crystal fragments, creating a network of consciousness that stretched across the cave like invisible threads of light. The Council ships are charging their main weapons, Dr. Soyoung reported, monitoring the energy signatures above them. How much more time do you need? Yunsik asked Biko. The ancient dragon was preparing to transfer his remaining life force to the human network, a process that would certainly kill him, but might save 3 solar systems. The transfer will take at least an hour, Beko rumbled. But Commander Veltar will not wait that long, as if to prove his point. Brilliant energy beams lanced down from the Council fleet. They were not aimed at the human ships or the cave, but at empty areas of Nexus Prime's surface. The message was clear: surrender, or the next shots would not be warning blasts. Sir, Captain Jinwoo called from his ship's position near the cave. We have incoming fighters. Zephyrian attack craft, moving to disable our engines. Admiral Taehan made a decision that would have seemed impossible just days before. All ships maintain defensive positions, but do not return fire. Dr. Yoon-sik, can your people do anything to help us? In the cave, Yoon-sik felt the question through his communication device and through the growing network of bonded minds. The 28 humans were now linked together in a web of shared consciousness. Their combined will focused on a single purpose. We can try, he replied. Then, to his fellow bonded humans, he sent a mental message. Can we protect the fleet without hurting anyone? The response came from all of them at once, a chorus of determined minds. Yes. Working together, the bonded humans reached out through space with their crystalline consciousness. Instead of manipulating gravity or energy directly, they did something much more subtle. They created interference patterns in the space around the Zephyrian fighters, making their targeting systems malfunction and their engines sputter. What is happening to my fighters? Commander Veltar demanded as his attack craft began flying in confused circles. Their instruments failing. Humans are demonstrating their capabilities. Chancellor Kung Mi observed from the bridge of the Cosmic Order. She was watching the energy readings with growing amazement. They are manipulating space-time on a level I have never seen before. It is a trick, a deception, Veltar insisted. No young species could master such power. Commander, one of his officers reported, our weapon systems are also experiencing malfunctions. Energy flows are being redirected away from our target coordinates. In the cave, the bonded humans were working as one mind with many bodies. They could feel each other's thoughts, share each other's strengths, and coordinate their actions with perfect precision. More importantly, they could feel the fear and confusion of the Zephyrian crews above them. They are afraid, Yanji reported through the mental link. They do not understand what we are doing, so they assume it must be dangerous. Then we show them, Yoon-sik decided. Not with force, but with proof. At that moment, alarms began sounding throughout the Council fleet. Long-range sensors were detecting massive instabilities in the Kepler system, 15 light-years away. The same system where they had stabilized the wandering moon just days before. Guardian Biko, Chancellor Kyung-mi called down to the planet, "What is happening in the Kepler system?" Biko raised his great head weakly. His heart crystal was flickering more rapidly now, barely holding together. My power is failing faster than expected. The star is becoming unstable. Without immediate intervention, it will go supernova within hours. How many people live in that system? She asked. 47 million beings across 12 worlds, Biko replied quietly. The bridge of the Cosmic Order fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. If the star exploded, it would kill everyone in the system and probably destabilize neighboring stars as well. The ancient dragon's power was finally failing, and there was nothing their technology could do to replace it in time. Commander Veltar, Chancellor Kung-mei said slowly, "Order all ships to stand down, Chancellor. We cannot allow these experiments to continue. The risk is 47 million lives if we do nothing." She cut him off. Dr. Yoon-sik, can your people stabilize that star? In the cave, the entire human network felt the challenge. 15 light-years away, a star was dying. 47 million people were about to perish, and they were the only ones who could stop it. We can try, Yoon-sik said, his voice carrying through the communication system to every ship in orbit. But we need Biko's full power, and that means he will die. Oh, I have been ready to die for months, Biko rumbled. The only question is whether my death will save lives or merely delay their loss. Then we do this together, Yoon-sik decided. All of us. Network-wide consciousness transfer? Dr. So-young's voice was tight with worry. Yoon-sik, we have never attempted anything on this scale. The neural load could kill all of you. And doing nothing will definitely kill 47 million people, Minho replied through the mental link. The decision was made. The 28 bonded humans joined their consciousness together in a way that had never been attempted before. Instead of individual partnerships with crystal fragments, they became a single distributed mind with access to Biko's accumulated power and wisdom. The sensation was overwhelming. Suddenly, Yunsik could perceive the entire galaxy as a living system. He felt the gravitational currents between stars, the delicate balance of cosmic forces, the way energy flowed through space itself. And 15 light-years away, he could sense the dying star like a pain in his own heart. "I can see it," he whispered, and his words were echoed by 27 other voices speaking in perfect unison. "We can feel what needs to be done." Working as one mind with many bodies, the human network reached across impossible distances and touched the failing star. But instead of forcing it back to stability, they did something that no Draconari had ever attempted. They shared the burden. Instead of one consciousness trying to control vast cosmic forces, 28 minds worked together, each contributing their unique human stubbornness and refusal to give up. They refused to let the star die because people needed it to live. They refused to accept that some beings had to be sacrificed for the good of others. Energy patterns are stabilizing, reported sensors throughout the galaxy. The Kepler star is returning to normal fusion rates. But the effort was enormous. Several of the bonded humans collapsed from neural exhaustion. Yunsik felt his consciousness stretching to its absolute limits. Only held together by the support of his network partners and Haywan's unwavering faith in human impossibility. "It is working," Biko said weakly, his voice filled with wonder. "You are doing what I could never do alone. You are saving everyone." On the bridge of the cosmic order, Chancellor Kungmi watched the readings with growing amazement. Not only had the humans stabilized the dying star, but they had done it without any of the catastrophic side effects that traditional Draconari interventions sometimes caused. "How?" she whispered. "They share the burden," came Biko's fading voice over the communication system. "Instead of one being carrying the weight of cosmic responsibility, they distribute it among many minds. They have found a way to maintain stability without sacrifice." Commander Veltar stared at his tactical displays in confusion. The human fleet has not moved. They have not fired a single shot. Yet they have just demonstrated power beyond anything in our arsenal, because they are not using it as a weapon, Chancellor Kungmi realized. They are using it to save lives. As the Kepler system stabilized completely, a cheer went up from human ships throughout the galaxy. 47 million beings would live to see another day because 28 humans had refused to accept that anyone had to die. But the victory came at a cost. Biko's great heart crystal flickered one final time and went dark. The ancient guardian's eyes closed peacefully as his consciousness merged completely with the human network. His 10,000 years of wisdom and power becoming part of something new and unprecedented in the silence that followed. Chancellor Kyung-mi made a decision that would change the galaxy forever. "Commander Veltar, stand down all weapons. Open diplomatic channels with the human fleet. I think it is time the Galactic Council learned a new way of doing things." 3 hours after Biko's death, the human network was struggling. Without the ancient dragon's stabilizing presence, the 28 bonded humans were trying to maintain cosmic balance across 3 solar systems with only their combined will and Haywan's growing but still limited power. Neural stress levels are reaching critical points, Dr. So-young reported. Watching her monitors with growing alarm, Minho and Youngji are showing signs of severe overload. In the mental network that connected all the bonded humans, Young-sik could feel his friend's pain. They were pushing themselves beyond all safe limits, channeling more cosmic energy than any biological system should be able to handle. But 47 million lives had been saved. And 3 solar systems still needed their protection. "We cannot sustain this much longer," Minho's voice came through the network. "Strained with exhaustion, power requirements are too great for just 28 minds," Yeonji added. Her consciousness flickering like a candle in the wind. Chancellor Kungmi had transported down to the crystal cave to see the situation for herself. She stood among the human bonding stations, watching dedicated volunteers push themselves to the breaking point to keep distant worlds safe. "Dr. Yunsik," she said quietly, "your people are dying to maintain something that is beyond your capabilities. Perhaps it would be better to transfer control to our automated systems before you lose anyone else." Yunsik opened his eyes, his face pale from the strain of channeling cosmic forces. "Your automated systems can only maintain stability by making calculated sacrifices. When problems arise, they will choose which worlds to save and which to let die." "That is sometimes necessary," Commander Veltar said. He had also come down to observe the humans' work. "The needs of the many must outweigh the needs of the few. There has to be another way." Wan, who had grown noticeably larger and more powerful since bonding with the humans, approached the group of officials. Her crystal scales were glowing brighter than ever before, and her eyes held an intelligence that surprised everyone. "The humans have taught me something that no Draconari ever learned," she said, her young voice carrying new wisdom. "We do not have to carry these burdens alone." "What do you mean?" Chancellor Kung-mi asked. Instead of answering directly, Haewon sent out a pulse of energy that reached beyond Nexus Prime, beyond the human network, to touch the minds of beings throughout the galaxy. It was an invitation, not a command, offering other species the chance to help maintain cosmic stability. The response was immediate and overwhelming. On Zephyrus Prime, Military Commander Jockskor felt the pulse and understood its meaning. His people's warrior discipline could be channeled into protective focus, helping to guard stellar systems against instability. On Silicos Beta, the crystalline beings called the Architects detected the energy pattern and recognized an opportunity to contribute their vast computational abilities to the network. On Altruvia, the empathic collective sensed the humans' desperate need and offered their ability to coordinate harmony across multiple consciousness, even on worlds that had never heard of humanity. Beings with suitable mental patterns felt the call and understood that they could be part of something greater than themselves. Commander Veltar demanded as his sensors detected thousands of new energy signatures connecting to the human network. "The humans are doing what they always do," Chancellor Kyung-mi said with growing amazement. "They are refusing to do this alone." Dr. Soyoung's instruments were going wild as beings from dozens of species began joining the network. "I am reading connections from Zephyrian military bases, silicoid computational centers, Alturian meditation communes, even some species I have never heard of before." The effect on the struggling human volunteers was immediate, as other minds joined the network. The burden of maintaining cosmic stability was shared among hundreds, then thousands of participants. The crushing weight that had been driving them to exhaustion became manageable when distributed across so many willing consciousnesses. "This is unprecedented," Commander Veltar said, staring at the readings. "Multiple species are voluntarily joining a shared consciousness network. Because the humans showed them it was possible," Haewon explained, her young voice filled with pride. "They proved that cooperation works better than individual power." But not everyone in the galaxy was pleased with this development. Emergency sessions were being called in government centers across known space. Many species leaders were alarmed by the idea of their citizens joining an unknown network controlled by humans. Priority message from the Hegemony Council came a communication to Chancellor Kung-mi. They are demanding immediate cessation of all network activities. They consider this an act of mental invasion. The Trade Federation is claiming that stable cosmic conditions maintained by aliens violate their economic sovereignty, added another message. Dominion Empire is mobilizing their fleet, Commander Veltar reported grimly. They view this network as a threat to established galactic order. Yunsik felt the growing political crisis through the network connections. Fear, anger, and suspicion were spreading among government officials who saw the cooperative network as a challenge to their authority. "They are afraid," Youngji observed through the mental link, "not of the network itself, but of what it represents." "Change," Minho agreed. "For millions of years, power in the galaxy has been concentrated in the hands of ancient beings and established governments. We are offering something different. We're offering to share the responsibility," Yunsik said. to make sure that everyone has a voice in keeping the universe stable. Chancellor Kung Mi received another urgent message. Dr. Yun-Sik, the Galactic Council is demanding that I order all humans to disconnect from the network immediately. If you refuse, they will consider humanity in violation of the Cosmic Stability Accords, and if we do disconnect, 3 solar systems become unstable and billions die, Yun-Sik replied. Then we need to make a choice, she said quietly. Follow the established order and accept the casualties, or continue with this experiment and risk war with half the galaxy. The cave fell silent, except for the soft humming of the network connections. Through the mental links, every bonded human could feel the weight of the decision. They could sense the fear of government officials, the hope of ordinary citizens who wanted to help, and the growing instability in distant star systems that still needed their protection. There's a third option, Haewon said suddenly. Show them that the network makes everyone safer, not just the humans. How? Chancellor Kyung-Mei asked. By doing what humans do best, the young dragon replied. Refuse to let anyone fall, even your enemies. At that moment, alarms began sounding throughout the galaxy. The hegemony's home system, where the government that opposed the network was located, was experiencing a massive stellar event. Solar flares were threatening to destroy their orbital cities and kill millions of their people. Traditional Dragonari protocols would have required calculating which colonies could be saved and which would have to be sacrificed. The hegemony's own automated systems were already making those cold calculations. But the human network had a different response. We save everyone, Yun-Sik said simply, speaking for all the bonded humans at once, working together. Thousands of minds from dozens of species reached across space to stabilize the hegemony system. Zephyrian discipline provided focus. Silicoid calculations provided precision. Alturian empathy provided coordination. And human stubbornness provided the absolute refusal to give up on anyone. The hegemony government watched in amazement, as the same network they had opposed saved their people without asking for anything in return. Why? Came the stunned message from Hegemony Prime. Why save those who oppose you? Yun-Sik's response was broadcast across the galaxy, heard by every government and every citizen, because that is what people do for each other. The political landscape of the galaxy shifted in that moment. It became very difficult to oppose a network that had just saved your people's lives. 6 months later, Nexus Prime had been transformed into something no one could have imagined. The crystal cave where Biko had spent his final days was now the central hub of the Interspecies Nexus Academy. Students from across the galaxy came to learn not just how to manipulate cosmic forces, but how to work together to keep everyone safe. Yun-Sik stood in the main lecture hall, addressing a class that included young Zephyrians, curious Silicoids, empathic Alturians, and dozens of humans. His appearance had changed over the months. His neural pathways now showed crystalline patterns, and his eyes held depths that spoke of consciousness expanded beyond normal limits. The most important lesson, he told his students, is that cosmic responsibility is not about power. It is about caring enough about other people to never give up on them. In the front row, Haewon listened with the attention of a dedicated student. Though she was now larger than most of the classroom furniture, the young dragon had become the living symbol of interspecies cooperation, her consciousness serving as a bridge between different types of minds in the network. Professor Yun-Sik asked a young Zephyrian student, "What happens when the network faces a choice between saving one world or saving 10 worlds?" "We find a way to save 11 worlds," Yun-Sik replied with a smile. "That is what humans call thinking outside the box." After the class, Yun-Sik walked through the academy grounds, where once there had been only dying crystal formations. Now there were living gardens where beings from dozens of species worked together. Zephyrian engineers collaborated with Silicoid mathematicians to design better stability systems. Alturian counselors helped new network members adapt to shared consciousness. Human researchers continued their stubborn quest to solve impossible problems. Daily report, came Dr. Soyoung's voice over the communication system. Network status is stable across 47 solar systems. We now have over 12,000 active participants from 32 different species. Any problems? Yunseek asked. The usual. The Dominion Empire is still complaining that we make their military look unnecessary. The Trade Federation thinks free cosmic stabilization hurts their business model. But no one is shooting at us anymore, so I call it progress. Admiral Tehain approached from the landing pads where ships arrived daily with new volunteers and students. Yunseek, we just received word from Earth. The President wants to know if you are planning to come home anytime soon. This is home now, Yunseek replied, looking out over the thriving academy. Besides, the network needs constant coordination, and there are always new problems to solve. As if to prove his point, an alert chimed from the network monitoring station. Captain Jinwoo's voice came through the communicators. We have a situation in the Outer Rim. Previously unknown civilization, about to lose their star to premature collapse. No one has ever made contact with them before. How many people? Yunseek asked, already knowing he would not like the answer. Approximately 2 billion beings across 15 worlds. Launch time in 10 minutes, Admiral Tehain announced. Falling back into military efficiency, I will take the diplomatic ship. Captain Jinwoo, prepare your exploration vessel for first contact protocols. Actually, Yunseek said, I think this calls for something different. He walked to the central network console, a massive crystalline structure that had grown from fragments of Biko's heart. Placing his hands on its surface, he sent out a call through the network to every bonded consciousness in the galaxy. The response was immediate. Thousands of minds connected across impossible distances, sharing knowledge, power, and the absolute human determination that no one should die alone in the dark of space. Network to unknown civilization, Yunseek broadcasts using the combined power of every connected consciousness. We are representatives from the galactic community. Your star is failing, but you do not have to face this alone. We are here to help. The response came back in a language that no one had ever heard before. But the network's combined consciousness was able to understand the meaning. Who are you that would help strangers? We are beings who believe that everyone deserves to go home safely, came the reply from 12,000 minds, speaking as one. Over the next several hours, ships from dozens of species converged on the unknown civilization's system. But unlike the military fleets that had once enforced galactic order, this was a rescue mission. Engineers, scientists, medics, and diplomats from across the galaxy worked together to stabilize the failing star and welcome the new species into the galactic community. Another successful mission, Dr. Soyoung reported as the unknown star returned to stable fusion. 2 billion more lives saved, and we have made contact with our 33rd member species. The Hegemony Council has sent a formal apology, Admiral Tehain added. They want to discuss joining the network officially. The Trade Federation is asking if we need any supplies for our rescue operations. Captain Jinwoo reported with amusement. Apparently, being known as the people who help save galaxies is good for business. As evening fell on Nexus Prime, Yunseek stood in the memorial garden where a crystal monument honored Biko's sacrifice. Haewon joined him, now grown to the size of a small building, but still maintaining the playful personality he remembered from their first meeting. Do you think he would be proud of what we have built? Haewon asked, her voice carrying harmonics that spoke of wisdom beyond her years. I think he would be amazed, Yunseek replied. He spent 10,000 years carrying the burden of cosmic responsibility alone. We have shared that burden among thousands of willing minds, and the universe has never been more stable. And no one has to die alone, Haewon added, echoing the fundamental principle that drove everything they did. No one has to die alone, Yunseek agreed. In the months that followed, the network continued to grow. New species joined not because they were forced to, but because they saw the value in cooperation. Crises that would once have required terrible choices between saving some and sacrificing others were resolved. Through the stubborn human insistence that there was always another way, the galaxy had learned something important from humanity. That the best way to keep everyone safe was to refuse to let anyone fall, even if it meant rewriting the laws of physics to catch them. And in the great web of consciousness that now connected thousands of minds across hundreds of worlds, Go's final gift lived on. His wisdom, his power, and his 10,000 years of dedication to protecting life had become part of something larger and more wonderful than any single being could achieve alone. The universe had found new guardians, and they had learned the most human lesson of all, that no one should have to carry the weight of the world by themselves when there are friends willing to help share the load. As captain, Jinwoo put it in his final log entry, BROADCAST, across the network for all to hear. Humans don't just refuse to let go. We refuse to let anyone fall, even if we have to rewrite the laws of physics to catch them. And now, thanks to our friends from across the galaxy, we never have to try to catch them alone. The network hummed with the agreement of 12,000 minds, each one committed to the simple principle that had changed everything. Everyone gets to go home.